Enhypen's Blood Saga World Tour is heading into its August dates. And while every K-pop tour brings excitement, this one carries a question that nobody in this fandom wants to say out loud, but everybody is thinking, can Enhypen actually hold this together without Heeseung? I have thoughts, a lot of them, and I'm going to give them to you straight, no sugarcoating. Welcome back to the channel. Let's get into it. In March 2026, just 7 weeks before the Blood Saga World Tour opened, Enhypen lost their main vocalist, Heeseung, gone, rebranded as Evan, pursuing solo music, still under Belift Lab. The tour opened May 1st at KSPO Dome in Seoul. 3 sold-out nights. 32,250 fans total. Then Latin America, São Paulo, Lima, Mexico City. Then the United States, Dallas, San Diego, Tacoma, Oakland, and Las Vegas on August 1st. European dates carry through into 2027. And right in the middle of all of this, on August 21st, Enhypen drops their first comeback as a 6-member group. The album is called The Sin Bliss. So we have a world tour running simultaneously with a new album release as a group that is now 6 instead of 7, doing this for the first time, in front of audiences that came expecting a group that no longer exists in its original form. That is an enormous amount of pressure, and I think it deserves an honest conversation. Heeseung was not just a member of Enhypen. He was the main vocalist, the anchor of their sound, the person whose upper register gave their ballads lift, and whose stage presence gave the group a focal point that non-fans recognized immediately. When Enhypen performed at Coachella in 2025, it was Heeseung who went viral. Strangers who had never heard of Enhypen were tweeting things like, "The red-haired member is so talented. I'm not even a fan of Enhypen, but he caught my attention immediately. Who is the redhead with Enhypen, my god?" That is the person who is no longer on that stage. And the Seoul concerts in May, where the group performed for the first time without him, told us something important. Korea Portal's review said it plainly. The ballad stretch lost lift that Heeseung's upper register provided, and 1 or 2 sections in the middle hour felt underwritten vocally relative to the visual ambition around them. No individual replacement fills his role. The group redistributed it, which is not the same thing. Redistributed, not replaced. That is the honest summary of where Enhypen are vocally right now. Jungwon, Jae, Jake, Sunghoon, Sunu, and Nikki are not a weak group of performers. Not at all. But Heeseung's role was specific. It was not something that 6 people can simply divide up between them and produce the same result. And as the tour moves into August, into Western audiences who are less forgiving and less emotionally invested, that vocal gap becomes more exposed, not less. So what is Enhypen actually doing about it? Now, I will give credit where it is due. Enhypen and Belift Lab are not pretending nothing happened. They made changes, real ones. First, the fanchants. When Heeseung left, the official Enhypen fanchants were updated. His name, his call and response moments, all of it was reworked for 6 members. That is a significant acknowledgement that the group is operating in a new reality. Second, the setlist. Songs that leaned heavily on Heeseung's vocal runs have reportedly been restructured. Some sections are now handled differently. More harmonies, adjusted arrangements, leaning into Enhypen's choreographic strength when the vocal demand becomes too high. Third, the new album. The Sin Bliss, dropping August 21st, was reportedly built with 6 members in mind from the ground up. Jake has already teased it as another level in a Billboard interview. And to be fair to them, writing music for who you are, rather than who you were, is the smarter approach. But here's my honest take on all of this. These are workarounds. Necessary ones, smart ones. But they are workarounds. You cannot rearrange a song's harmonies and pretend the original vocalist is still there in spirit. You cannot update a fanchant and expect fans who chanted Heeseung's name for 5 years not to feel that empty space. The Korea Times review of the Seoul shows said the group showed no gaps after lineup change. And I appreciate the optimism. But Korea Portal's more detailed review told a different story. The truth is probably somewhere in between. They are holding together. But there are visible seams. This is the part of the conversation that I think gets overlooked, because it is one thing to talk about the group's performance. It is another thing entirely to talk about what it feels like to be an Enhypen sitting in that audience right now. When Heeseung left, fans reacted with devastating honesty. One wrote, "For those who don't understand the weight of him leaving, it's equivalent to Jungkook leaving BTS." Another said simply, "This is worse than disbanding." Worse than disbanding. Think about that. Because when a group disbands, it's over. Clean. Final. When a main member leaves, you still have to show up. You still have to watch the group without him. You still have to figure out whether you are an Enhypen or whether you were an Enhypen because of the person who is no longer there. And here is the uncomfortable question that sits in that audience. When Enhypen performs Blood on the Dance Floor, or Given Taken, or any of the songs built around Heeseung's voice, what happens in that moment? Do people sing along? Do they feel the absence? Do they look at the space where he used to stand? The Seoul concerts reportedly saw some of that. Quiet pockets in moments that used to be loud. Not because the crowd didn't care, but because they cared too much. And as the tour moves into August, into cities where Enhypen communities are smaller and more mixed with casual fans, that emotional dynamic shifts again. Casual fans don't carry the grief, but they also don't fill the gap. Will Enhypen talk about Heeseung on tour? Will any member say his name on stage? Will there be a VCR tribute? A moment of acknowledgement? Or is he simply erased from the narrative? Based on everything we have seen so far, the answer is complicated. In K-pop, departures from groups, especially under contract complications, tend to result in what fans call the forbidden member situation. The label does not instruct members to never mention the person, but there is an understood pressure to keep promotion forward-facing. You do not look back. You do not create moments that remind the audience of what is no longer there. The updated fanchants are telling here. They did not keep a moment of silence for Heeseung's name. They replaced it. That is a deliberate choice, and it tells you something about how B-Lift Lab wants this tour to be framed. My personal opinion? I think one of the members will say something. Maybe not on every night, maybe not in every city, but at some point on this tour, in a quiet fan communication moment, someone will acknowledge it. Because these are human beings. They trained with Heeseung for years. They debuted with him. They toured with him. They are now on the biggest tour of their career without him. You cannot be human and feel nothing about that. Whether they are allowed to say it openly, that is a different question entirely. So here is my honest thought on this. Enhypen are talented, seriously talented. Youngwon's leadership, Niki's dancing, Jake's warmth, Jae's stage personality, Sunghoon's precision, Sunu's energy. This is not a weak group of performers. But they are carrying something heavy right now. A tour, a new album, a restructured identity, all at the same time. Without their main vocalist. The Seoul shows proved they can survive this. The August dates will prove whether they can thrive. And Heeseung? He is out there building something as Evan. Whether that solo path vindicates his decision, or whether the group he left behind grows into something bigger than what he walked away from. That is the storyline that will define Enhypen's next chapter. And honestly, I am watching both very closely. Drop your thoughts in the comments. Are you still going to Enhypen concerts without Heeseung? Do you think the group can sustain this long term? And do you think any member will mention him on stage? I want to know. If you are new here, welcome to Asian Dramatic, K-drama, K-entertainment. All of it. No filter. Follow so you don't miss what's next.